Sports for Real again with Coach Hall. Yesterday I started the series of the overview of the college football playoff contenders. Talked about Ohio State a little bit. Now I want to move to the number 3 seed, TCU. First of all, kudos to the selection committee for allowing TCU to be in the playoffs. Traditionally, schools that are off-brand like the Cincinnatis and the Boise States and even TCU to a certain degree, even if they were undefeated or clearly qualified within the parameters of the playoffs, they were not allowed in because you had some sexier program like in Alabama who they would take over these programs. Well, just so happened this year, Alabama is still good enough to beat any of the 4 teams that's in the playoffs, but they have those 2 losses. And because they have those 2 losses, that made them ineligible. So I'm glad that the selection committee put TCU in even after losing to Kansas State. Now, having said that, they have a tall task because they're going to be taking on a very, very hot Michigan team who just dismantled their rival, Ohio State. But here's an advantage for TCU coming right out of the gate. We saw last year that it seemed like Michigan, they were just happy to get by Ohio State. They didn't really think too much about playing Georgia. As long as they got into the playoffs after beating Ohio State, they seemed to be happy with that. So the question is, what has Michigan learned? Are they going to be playing for more than the victory over Ohio State? Or are they just happy to be there again? Either way, with that question in the air, that favors TCU. Now, we know TCU has the Heisman runner-up, Duggan. Like I said, this guy has the heart of a lion. He's going to be hard to beat. But the question is, can TCU run the ball against Michigan? If they can run the ball, then that will open up some play action, I think, to that big wide receiver they have, Quentin Johnson. He's bigger than everybody in the Michigan secondary. So if they can run the football, they can cause some problems. Other than Duggan going pro, declaring to go to the NFL draft, I haven't heard any negativities coming out of the TCU camp. Actually, they've gotten a few positives in recruiting and in the transfer portal, taking a guy from Alabama. So the future looks bright for TCU. But like I said, can they maintain the momentum through this playoff game? And in my opinion, can they do it without falling behind? Because they match up pretty well with Michigan. But the question is, can they play this game without falling behind? Because if they fall behind a little bit too far, they're not going to catch Michigan. So they're going to have to be on the ball, kind of like the way they were against West Virginia, on the ball from the opening kickoff to be able to stay in this game. So how focused will the Horned Frogs be? So again, we'll talk about strategies when we get beyond the overviews of all these different teams. But right now, it seems like TCU is on pace to have a good performance in the Fiesta Bowl. So until next time, Sports for Real.